1. Because amongst my fellow men I've always felt alone. Because amongst my fellow men I've always felt alone, my wish is that my body, when I one day come to die, be burnt quite to a crisp, and then upon the air be thrown. There are to be no funeral rites, nor eulogies intoned. Anyone who knew me well will know the reason why. Because amongst my fellow men I've always felt alone. And if there is some blockhead who to argument is prone, you are to shut down this buffoon and force him to comply. To let me be reduced to ash and on the air be thrown. No eulogies or ceremonies, burial or stone. If someone makes a fuss, you can straightforwardly reply that when amongst my fellow men I'd always felt alone, and found all their conceits quite ludicrous and overblown. The only way that you can my revulsion satisfy is see that I'm burnt to a crisp, then on the air am thrown. The truth is, it's the human race in general I disown. So let this serve me as one last defiant battle cry. Because amongst my fellow men I've always felt alone, have me burnt quite to a crisp, then on the air be thrown. 2. Burn these poems when you burn me. I leave you with this firm decree, which you both can't and won't ignore. Burn these poems when you burn me. This is not some paltry plea to execute some petty chore. It is a stern and firm decree which to transgress you are not free. Obey, as you have heretofore. Burn these poems when you burn me. You're not to turn away or flee if it's the case that you abhor the deed. This is a firm decree which you'll obey, that I foresee. You'll bow beneath my will once more and burn these poems when you burn me. I chose you as this task's trustee because you're spineless, and therefore to you I leave this firm decree. Burn these poems when you burn me. 3. Even though existence is with awfulness replete. Even though existence is with awfulness replete, and you're confronted night and day with harbingers of doom, Schopenhauer was said to smile when walking down the street. To be a zealot of despair who wallows in defeat will make you a pariah in your neighbor's living room, even though existence is with awfulness replete. Think upon the outcome of your frowns on those you meet. Be it naught but fiction, nonetheless you ought presume that Schopenhauer often smiled when walking down the street. For when you do, you give yourself the right to be upbeat at intermittent moments, even though you so oft fume that most of your existence is with awfulness replete. Our lives are mostly bitter, yet at times they can be sweet. Gaze upon the stars above, or flowers when in bloom. Even you might crack a smile when walking down the street. So you do well to ponder if, indeed, it's indiscreet to wear upon your countenance unmitigated gloom. Even though existence is with awfulness replete, Schopenhauer was said to smile when walking down the street. 4. It's grievously deceitful to pretend. It's grievously deceitful to pretend we're something more than flesh and blood and bone, and not just tubes with holes at either end. You speak of souls which bodies can transcend once they are to them no longer sown, and seem extremely willing to pretend that something more ethereal extends beyond the crumbling organs of some crone, who's just a tube with holes at either end, to which you would a seraphim append, who's soon to sit upon some astral throne. It's grievously deceitful to pretend she will to some Elysium ascend, to compensate her each and every groan, that withered tube with holes at either end. And though it's only kindness you intend, to soothe those from whom every good has flown, it's grievously deceitful to pretend we're not just tubes with holes at either end. 5. Kill what you love. Renounce this vulgar passion play, and join your heart to seek no more. Kill what you love and walk away. Embrace your fate, brook no delay, abandon all that came before. Renounce this vulgar passion play. To sentiments, do not give way. All your qualms and doubts ignore. Kill what you love and walk away. Cast them off at close of day. Shove them in a padlocked drawer. Renounce this vulgar passion play. Soon you'll be a bird of prey, cruel and noble, free to soar. Kill what you love and walk away. Slaughter, butcher, wipe out, slay, murder all you once cared for. Renounce this vulgar passion play. Kill what you love and walk away. 6. Take care to note how rapidly the object of your lust. Take care to note how rapidly the object of your lust transforms into a loathsome thing you then come to revile, rousing not your appetite, but rather your disgust. When you think you're in love, and to your mistress then entrust your heart, because you incorrectly think her worth your while, you rapidly discover that this object of your lust, once you have seduced her, promptly violates your trust, and when you finally see through all her cunning, craft, and guile, she rouses not your appetite, but only your disgust. You learn, at last, that when she spots an opening, she thrusts a dagger deep into your guts, withdraws it, and then smiles. You look in disbelief on how this object of your lust rejoices in your suffering, and how it is you must take pains to even stand upright and not choke on your bile, now that all your appetites have turned into disgust. You shall soon to ashes turn, to ashes and to dust. As days dissolve and seasons blur, take care that you meanwhile be glad and thankful. She, who was the object of your lust, provokes no more your appetite, but only your disgust. 7. The child you belched from your polluted womb. The child you belched from your polluted womb, who walks the earth in ghastly, dreadful pain, is limping, frail and broken, towards his doom. How can you continue to assume that bearing him was not more loss than gain? The child you belched from your polluted womb is lying, suicidal, in his room, begging God to help him, but in vain. He limps along in anguish towards his doom. Imprisoned in a call of deepest gloom, in agonies no creature can sustain, that child you belched from your polluted womb begins to feel outrage and to fume. To mother-loathing then he gives free rein, while limping, frail and broken, towards his doom. And as he prays to rest within his tomb, he curses you who bore him yet again. The child you belched from your polluted womb is limping, frail and broken, towards his doom. 8. Underneath each tide of joy, there is an undertow. Underneath each tide of joy, there is an undertow, which cheerful divers in its waves routinely fail to see, lurking just beneath its surface, poised to lay them low, of which perhaps you've not yet heard and which you don't yet know, but which will leave you on the beach a ghastly amputee. Underneath each tide of joy, there is an undertow, bearing in its vicious currents endless tales of woe. A slinking, veiled predator from which you cannot flee, lurking there beneath its surface, poised to lay you low, rejoicing in anticipation of its every blow, knowing well there's not a chance you'll wrench your body free. It licks its briny lips in thoughts of what you'll undergo. This love of yours, which makes your spirit vibrate to and fro, makes it far less plausible you're likely to foresee what lurks beneath the water's surface, poised to lay you low. You'll flail about, convinced the sea will spare you. Even so, once you're swimming, gleeful, giddy, reckless on the sea, from far below those waves of joy will burst an undertow to yank you to the ocean's floor, there to lay you low. 9. When first infatuations are transformed into disgust. When first infatuations are transformed into disgust and lack the grace to simply fade away, they're only acting as befits their nature, as they must, and hence it follows one should ardors such as those distrust, taking care their import to downplay. When first infatuations are transformed into disgust, it's only fools who grumble, moan, and find themselves nonplussed, or sink into some landfill of dismay. The wise submit and see the hand of nature, as they must. Unsurprised, revulsion is so quick to follow lust, that lovers oft their welcomes do outstay. When first infatuations are transformed into disgust, wise men shrug it off, then laugh and quickly readjust. They do not choose to linger in the fray. They recognize the wayward hand of nature, as they must. Longings turn to loathings, just as will all turn to dust. Love turns into hate, as night to day. When first infatuations are transformed into disgust, they're only acting as befits their nature, as they must. 10. You can't escape yourself except by dying. You can't escape yourself except by dying, nor claim you're ever other than alone. He who claims this isn't so is lying. There's nothing for it other than complying. It will not do to rail, rant, and moan. You can't escape yourself except by dying. You cannot nullify this curse by trying to take some other heart into your own. He who says you can is simply lying. Put aside your fantasies. Stop trying to convince yourself that you're not on your own. You can't escape yourself except by dying. Your love affairs will not be satisfying. Your destiny is never to be known. He who claims this isn't so is lying. A bitter pill indeed, quite horrifying, that you've into a life like this been thrown. You can't escape yourself except by dying. And he who claims this isn't so is lying. 11. You've reached the end. You've reached the end, that vile and fearsome age when love, once cherished, lies beneath the ground, when naught is left but bitter bile and rage that binds you hand and foot inside a cage in which you cannot breathe nor turn around. You've reached the end, that vile and fearsome age, at which no curses, flight, or brute rampage can possibly your ghastly fate dumbfound, when naught is left but bitter bile and rage. And death? He's just a step or two off stage, confident you're soon to run aground. You've reached the end, that vile and fearsome age, when there remains no way you can assuage the dread that straight for hell you now are bound, while choking on your bitter bile and rage. You must accept that now, at this late stage, your much-beloved dreams have long since drowned. You've reached the end, that vile and fearsome age, when naught is left but bitter bile and rage. 12. Your lover's but a mirror on which all your fancies dwell. Your lover's but a mirror on which all your fancies dwell. That lie that souls can merge, to which you're prone, through which you seek your painful isolation to dispel. There is some nobler part of you which knows that very well. A part of you you're eager to disown, so you can look upon the mirror where your fancies dwell, the noble and those vile ones you cannot seem to quell, that garden thick with traumas overgrown, and still believe them fit your isolation to dispel. You make of her a savior, this unlucky mademoiselle, and place her on a misbegotten throne, to be a glass within which all your fantasies can dwell, those fantasies which guarantee you'll resurrect the hell in which the child who you are still was thrown. The beatings and brutalities you never will dispel, which seethe again inside your brain when comes time for farewell, when kisses end and you're yourself alone, encased within the bag of meat in which your sufferings dwell, which no love you invent can ever possibly dispel.